For over 100 years, the FBI has been in charge of investigating some of the most prolific and bizarre cases in US history. Over the years, the methods used by the FBI have improved dramatically. But even in 2022, there are those few cases that the FBI hasn't been able to crack. Number 5. 25-year-old Samantha Perry was last seen on March 25, 2018, in the Kaler Bottoms area of Graves County, Kentucky. The last time that Samantha and Amanda talked via text was when the two were arguing, with Amanda wanting to help her niece get into rehab and provide a stable life for her 2 children. Samantha did have her battles, but there was no doubt that she was a dedicated mother to her 2 children. So when she disappeared, leaving them behind, her family knew that something was wrong. According to reports, on March 28, 2018, Samantha and her boyfriend, Renlee Hendrickson, were seen in the 4200 block of Tim Road, where the two were arguing. According to Hendrickson, he took Samantha's car back to her house while Samantha left with Hendrickson's father, Dusty Holder. This is where the story gets murky and confusing. Dusty would later tell investigators that the two left the scene on a 4-wheeler and ventured into the woods where they eventually ran out of gas. According to Dusty, the two spent the night in the woods before making their way to Kaler Bottoms, which sits next to Highway 131 and Highway 849. Cold, tired, and exhausted, Samantha told Dusty that she was going to head towards her cousin's house, and that was the last time the two ever saw each other. This story would contradict the physical evidence found at the scene after Samantha was reported missing. The Graves County Sheriff's Office performed a search of the area, where Dusty told them he had last seen Samantha and found some troubling evidence. Authorities managed to find the 4-wheeler, but only one set of footprints near it, and only one set leading out of the woods towards the highway. There was no physical evidence to prove that Samantha had been on the 4-wheeler, or even in the area of Kaler Bottoms, and the suspicions immediately turned towards Dusty Holder. With Samantha now missing, her family began to put increasing pressure on the Graves County Sheriff's Office, and have accused them of withholding information, as well as being plagued by many controversies within their own department. It was later revealed that during the initial search where Dusty's 4-wheeler was discovered, 2 cell phones belonging to Dusty were also found. These phones had been burnt in a fire, however, and it appears the FBI may have since been able to conduct electronic analysis on these phones. The investigation into Samantha's disappearance has quickly gone cold, with her family commenting that it was unlikely that she got lost in the woods, as she was very familiar with the area. It's believed that Samantha met with foul play, and the FBI is now involved in investigating her disappearance. Both Dusty and Ren were administered polygraph examinations, which they both passed, and have been extensively interviewed by local law enforcement and the FBI. Unfortunately, no new clues have come to light, and the FBI case file on Samantha has quickly run cold. Over 30 pieces of evidence have been entered in Samantha's case, but local law enforcement and the FBI have been unable to name any persons of interest or make any progress in her case. There's currently a $5,000 reward being offered by the West Kentucky Crime Stoppers and Samantha's family for any information that leads to her whereabouts or an arrest. Samantha Perry is described as a white female with blonde hair, hazel eyes, 5'6" and 120 to 130 pounds. She has tattoos of a rose with a skull on her right shoulder, 2 roses with the word rose on her right abdomen, and a tiger lily and sunflower on her left thigh. She was last seen wearing a gray hooded sweatshirt, gray stretchy pants, with a red waistband, and tennis shoes. Anyone with information is asked to contact the Graves County Sheriff's Office at 270-247-4501 or the FBI at 502-263-6000. Number 4. The case of Arthur James Hill is one of the FBI's oldest and coldest cases. But the agency still holds out hope that even after almost 57 years, answers may be just around the corner. For 57 years, the perpetrators of this crime have been allowed to walk free, but advances in DNA technology and investigative techniques may just put an end to their walk of freedom. On August 20th, 1965, 27-year-old Arthur James Hill and 3 of his friends stopped at a gas station in Georgia. One of the group got into an argument with the white man at the gas station, and when Hill tried to intervene, it's alleged that the clerk, Bernard Lee Green, took matters into his own hands. Both Hill and one of his other companions were struck during the altercation, and only one of the travel companions, a 25-year-old woman, was left unharmed. Hill's friends rushed to his aid and tried to pile him into the car and drive him to the nearest hospital, but unfortunately it was too late. The incident was reported to the police, and the FBI became involved in the investigation. The woman who survived testified against the gas station clerk and the other man there that day, telling the courts what transpired. According to PBS, they were able to ascertain records that Bernard Lee Green did stand trial shortly after the incident in 1965. However, he was acquitted of all the charges against him. Other witnesses were called to the stand that contradicted the woman's testimony, and as a result, the jury acquitted Green. Unfortunately, there's a distinct lack of information in Arthur's case, and it wasn't until 2008 that the FBI decided to reopen his case and search for more information and additional witnesses. At his trial, 2 men testified in Green's defense, saying that Arthur and his group had been verbally harassing them while they were stopped at a red light, leading to the group to follow them into the gas station where the altercation occurred. They also told the court that Arthur and his friends had refused to leave the gas station, and that's why the clerk, Bernard Lee Green, became involved. Green passed away in 1973 and was never charged with the crime, and due to a lack of evidence, Arthur's case has since been closed. According to the justice.gov website, quote, "Additionally, there's already been a state prosecution, and because the subject is deceased, the matter will not be forwarded to the state for prosecutive review." While the FBI and Department of Justice have since closed the case, there are still many questions left behind for the family and friends of Arthur Hill. The FBI has never been able to bring a conviction in Arthur's case, and almost 57 years later, his case remains cold. Number 3. On October 28, 2005, Maria Lima rushed out of her Middleton, Massachusetts home, saying goodbye to her 26-year-old son, John Lima, for what would be the last time. As Maria went about her workday, she had no idea that by the next morning, her entire world would have been turned upside down, and that her son would be at the center of one of the FBI's strangest missing person cases. At the time of his disappearance, John was in recovery from substance abuse and was working on getting his life back on track. John had recently gotten help, and to his parents, he was well on his way to getting his life back in order. He lived in the basement apartment of his parents' home and regularly visited his girlfriend in Chelsea, Massachusetts. By the time Maria had returned home from work on October 28th, John had already left the house and had gone to visit his girlfriend. According to reports, his girlfriend last saw him at 1:30 a.m. as he was leaving her house. Unfortunately, this would be the last time that John was ever seen or heard from again. And now, 17 years later, the FBI and the Middleton Police Department are still searching for him. Maria would later tell investigators that she heard what she believed to be John's car pulling into the family home, located at South Main Street and River Street, at around 2 a.m. To put her worries to bed, Maria peered out of the window and saw John's car, parked amongst the rest, and headed back to bed, knowing that her son was safe, or at least she thought he was. When she woke up the next morning, she was horrified to find that his keys, wallet, and car were still at the family's residence, but there was no sign of John. With the Halloween celebrations looming, Maria and John's family speculated whether John had gone to spend the weekend with friends and waited for him to contact them. However, when 2 days had passed and John had failed to turn up for work as a construction worker, his family knew that something was wrong. By October 30th, 2005, 26-year-old John Lima had been officially reported missing to the Middleton Police Department, and the investigation was underway. Family, friends, and investigators arrived at the Lima home to search for John, but unfortunately, snowfall in the area had potentially destroyed any evidence that there would have been. Sniffer dogs were not able to track John's scent, and the only clue to his disappearance was a window in his living room that had been left open and a screen door that had been pushed from the outside. Investigators attempted to track John's phone. However, they found that the battery had died at around 2 a.m., the same time that his mother, Maria, believed to have heard him reach the home. Maria told investigators that John had left his cigarettes, wallet, and keys on his bed, and that his shoes had been left on the doormat inside the family's garage. Investigators believe that John may have climbed out of the open window to go and meet someone. Unfortunately, there have been very few leads in John's case, and his family is still desperately searching for him. The FBI is now involved in John's case, and unfortunately, they've been unable to unearth any new clues. John Lima is described as a white male with brown hair and brown eyes, 5'10" and 170 pounds. John has a tattoo of barbed wire on his upper arm, and it's also noted that he possibly has a tattoo on the back of his neck, and also has a very light scar across the top of his nose. At the time of his disappearance, John was last seen wearing a red t-shirt and blue jeans. There's currently a $30,000 reward for information, and anyone with information is asked to contact the Middleton Police Department at 978-774-4424, or the FBI's VICAP at 800-634-4097. Number 2. 18-year-old Kristin Motaferi was a student at North Carolina State University in 1997, and everyone who knew her agreed that her future was going to be bright. While Kristin was filled with promise and hope, she was also somewhat naive about how the world around her worked, especially in big cities. In the summer of 1997, Kristin accepted a scholarship to study photography at UC Berkeley for the summer, and quickly settled into her new life in San Francisco. Kristin was more accustomed to the laid-back, quieter feel of North Carolina, but she was determined that she could make it in the big city. Kristin packed her bags and found herself a part-time job at a coffee shop to help support her during her time in San Francisco. Unfortunately, what would have been a prosperous summer for Kristin turned into a nightmare for her family when she disappeared without a trace. On June 23, 1997, just one day before classes were due to begin, Kristin clocked out of her job at Spinelli's coffee shop at around 3 p.m., asking her coworkers how she could get to Baker's Beach. Her coworkers gladly gave her directions and then watched Kristin stay in the mall where the coffee shop was located for about 45 minutes. During this time, she was seen talking to an unidentified blonde woman. Her coworkers noted this as odd, as Kristin usually left right away, but something about this woman made them feel uneasy. With nothing but an uneasy feeling in their stomachs, her coworkers could do nothing but wait to see Kristin again the next day to ask her about the woman. But that conversation would never come. Kristin failed to show up for the classes she had been eagerly anticipating, and failed to show up for work. The fact that she missed both of her classes and her shift sent alarm bells ringing, and her roommates immediately contacted the police. The police worked with the assumption that Kristin had gone to Baker's Beach, which is located next to Land's End Beach, and had possibly gotten injured. Investigators armed with sniffer dogs managed to track Kristin's scent to the bus stop that Kristin would have used to get to Land's End. At first, investigators found a newspaper ad that read, quote, "Friends seeking female friend to share activities, enjoy music, photography, workouts, walks, coffee, or simply enjoying the beach and exploring the Bay Area." It's been speculated that Kristin may have written this advertisement herself, or that she possibly responded to it, which would explain the unknown blonde woman. A few tips would come into the authorities. However, these would later be deemed as unsubstantiated. There's only ever been one person of interest in Kristin's case, and that is John Onuma. While there's plenty of circumstantial evidence to connect him to the case, including a phone call to KGO in which he told them that 2 women had abducted Kristin, there's never been any physical evidence to conclusively tie him to the case. As there's no physical evidence, John has never been charged in Kristin's case. In 2015, Kristin's DNA was found in the basement of the home where Kristin lived at the time, and cadaver dogs had also alerted in the basement. Unfortunately, no further evidence has ever been found. Even with the FBI's involvement, it appears that we're no closer to solving this case. Kristin Motaferi is described as a white female with dark brown hair, brown eyes, 5'6" and 140 pounds. Kristin has distinctive dimples on her cheeks and may have last been seen carrying a green JanSport backpack with a black mesh pocket on the front. Anyone with information is asked to contact the Oakland Police Department at 510-238-3641 or the FBI's San Francisco office at 415-553-7400. Number 1. On August 30th, 1978, the body of a man dressed in women's clothing was found in a bin on Clear Lake Road, just north of Interstate 94, in the Waterloo State Recreation Area in Jackson County, Michigan. Authorities were immediately called to the scene, and the body was transported back to the medical examiner's office. An initial examination of the body indicated that it belonged to a black woman between the ages of 20 and 45 years old. However, the DNA Doe Project would later go on to state that DNA work prior to the listing indicated the victim was born a black male. The coroner at the time was unable to identify a specific cause due to the skeletonization of the remains. However, they did theorize that it was likely a homicide due to how the remains were discovered. Both the FBI and the DNA Doe Project are involved in this case. However, neither agency has been able to make any breakthroughs. According to the FBI's VICAP, the victim is described as black, 5'2" to 5'9", 130 pounds, and was assigned male at birth. They were found wearing women's clothing and a wavy auburn wig. The victim also had a right shoulder surgical implantation. They were also missing 10 of their teeth, including 2 upper front teeth, and there was evidence of a healed nasal fracture. The FBI VICAP website also provides a full rundown of the clothes that they were wearing and says that they were blue jeans size 26 waist, a violet long-sleeve blouse size 14, a size 5'6" beige long-sleeve blouse, a reddish-brown nylon neck scarf, a pair of tights, a bra, bikini-cut underwear, glossy black high-heeled shoes with a gold tassel ankle tie, and a gold bracelet. DNA has been obtained from this doe. However, the DNA Doe Project nor the FBI are any closer to discovering their true identity. If you have any information, you're asked to contact the Michigan State Police at 517-780-4580, quoting case number 41501178, or the FBI VICAP at 800-634-4097. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you liked this video, be sure to hit that like button. Also, don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell to keep up to date with all of our future uploads. But my name is Ty Knotts, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.